Chapters 5 and 6 of the seldom heard tale of Stinky CLAUS. Carl had good days Monday and Tuesday. With school in session, there were fewer older kids, which meant more preschoolers were there to see him. They were in awe of him and his costume and acted especially well. This not only calmed Carl's stomach, but actually made him appreciate the job like he always had in the past. When things went right, it was always fun being Santa, and the excitement the little kids showed brightened his day. Even the wisecracks from fellow employees dwindled down, since word got out that he had gotten a warning. Warnings and firings always remind coworkers of how mortal their own jobs are. Carl would get one day off a week. This week it was Wednesday, and his fill-in was Charlie, an older guy from the shoe department. Charlie's only Santa attribute was that he was old. He was too skinny, needed a pillow to get him up to Santa's size, and drank extra coffee to improve his ho-ho-hos. Carl and Peggy would enjoy their one day together and decided to go for their favorite dinner, Eastern Indian food. The place they liked was in a small Indian community in the town north of Red Bank called Freehold. The restaurant had an unpronounceable name to Carl, but its sister takeout place next door was called Curry in a Hurry. So that's what Carl and Peg always referred to it as. Carl had a fresh bottle of Beano with him, and since it was an early afternoon dinner, over 19 hours from when he had to start work again, he decided to be brave and get all his favorites. These included rice with goat, tandoori chicken, chickpeas, and onions smothered in a lentil sauce, curried chicken and curried rice, and he'd wash it down with marsala dosis, which were yogurt-based drinks, sort of like a yogurt milkshake. His wife watched him pour nearly the whole bottle of Beano on his first and second buffet dishes and asked him if he might not want to fill up on bread instead. "No, this is fine," he said. "I feel great." He leaned into her and winked, saying, "I'm not even a little bit gassy." He was telling the truth. He felt great and relaxed the rest of the day, reading the paper and watching the New Jersey Devils hockey from the Meadowlands. The Devils were playing the New York Islanders, and it was a close game, back and forth. It was 6-5 Devils going into the final seconds when an Islander slipped a shot past the goalie for the tying score. This annoyed Carl, but worse, it annoyed his stomach. And suddenly the ingredients of the Beano started to break down and losing their own game to the ingredients in the Indian food. Then it came. Mamushka. Carl bent over from the sudden pains in his stomach and rushed to the powder room. The industrial exhaust fan, the lemon-scented aerosol can, the potpourri-scented candles, even red-faced, sweaty prayers to God. Nothing was saving Peggy's otherwise beautiful guest bathroom. After that, Carl still couldn't get comfortable. Trying to go to sleep, he found the couch was no good, or his easy chair, and every position in bed was causing his stomach more discomfort after a while. Not to mention poor Peggy, who decided to sleep in her daughter's old bed when the aroma of hers and Carl's room became overwhelming. After he felt better, she decided she'd let him have her "I told you so's," but right now he was not in the mood. His only recourse for the morning was to call in sick, but how does Santa do that? After about 2 hours of sleep, the alarm rang and Carl reached for the phone. He swallowed hard and called Witchgartner's assistant to tell her the bad news, but she said that Charlie couldn't take the stress of the children, and after yesterday announced that he would not be the Santa sub anymore. Carl had to come in. Carl closed his eyes tight, leaned back on the pillow, wondering how he got to live this long being so stupid. Chapter 6. Thursday morning. Despite the unusually cold early December weather, Carl drove with all his windows open for the entire ride from Red Bank, New Jersey to Manhasset. Luckily, he was not driving at night, or a cop would surely have pulled him over for suspected drunk driving. Peggy had bought several air fresheners for his Honda Accord, but nothing could combat his fierce biological weapons. Before he left the house, Carl rummaged through the upstairs linen closet, getting 2 pairs of Depends adult incontinence garments that had been left over from when his father was still living with them. Under the big Santa outfit, no one would notice, he thought, and maybe he could muffle the sound and smell somewhat. Anything would be an improvement over his current state. He changed into his outfit as close to deadline as possible and drowned a half a bottle of Beano before heading out to the Nutcracker suite. Security elf Karen was there with her sneaky smile, getting the few early bird families that were there lined up to see Santa. Carl gave her a half nod as he'd done since realizing she was a squealer. He sat down and had to adjust himself with the extra bulk beneath him. The first family online had 2 children, a 2-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. The boy was surprisingly good for his age, but the girl was sneaky bad, slyly kicking Carl's shins as she climbed into his lap. Carl's concentration was focused on his stomach until then, controlling it as best he could, but the wincing pain of his shins made him lose that control. And he had his first eruption of the workday. He had several more after that, one per child, and sometimes one in between. All the while, Santa Claus was promising PlayStations and Britney Spears Barbies to all the good boys and girls. And the naughty ones, he let them have a bit more gas during the picture sessions. The Depends had worked remarkably well for the first 15 minutes, but after a half hour, the Nutcracker Suite was beginning to bring back memories of a game farm for the parents and elves. Carl had one of the elves turn off the fan behind him that was supposed to keep him cool, but that didn't work either. Finally, he had to call for an unscheduled break. The line forms he assigned was turned around to say, "Gone to feed reindeer," back in 15 minutes. While Carl slipped off to feed the reindeer in the employees' men's room, he could see Karen nonchalantly head for a phone behind an empty register. After another half hour, with things no better than before, Carl saw Witchgartner's secretary coming towards the suite. He was with the last child in line, so her timing was impressive. After the little Korean boy went back to his adoptive mother, the secretary, whose name he could never remember, asked him to go upstairs and see Mrs. Weingarten. As he walked down the Green Mile to her office, he reasoned with himself that he had done everything possible. It was still a losing battle. During the long walk, he temporarily forgot about his Indian buffet the day before. Maybe he thought he could still sell Christmas trees or something, be a delivery man for a florist. Anything. As he walked in, he realized Witchgartner's scowl was worse than he remembered. She held a cross pen so rigidly in her hands that he thought it would snap and send ink flying everywhere. His file was open on her desk, and her copy of the warning was lying on top. Carl coughed nervously as he sat down. He hadn't even thought to remove his Santa hat in all the commotion. She kept staring at him and getting angrier in the silence. Carl decided in haste that he would tell her about his medical problem. Maybe it would buy him more time, or at least some compassion. Could this woman even be compassionate, he wondered? Then Witchgartner threw the pen down and bounced high and wide of her desk. "What kind of man are you? Why are you doing this?" she demanded. "Do you think it's funny? Do you hate children? You've been a Santa in the stores for over 10 years and have always gotten high marks. Why do you choose to put on this disgusting display here?" Carl cleared his throat and said, "I should have told you this sooner, but I have a medical problem. It's an irritated bowel, for want of a better term, and it causes my bouts of flatulence. I began suffering from it in October after you hired me. I thought with diet and medicine I could control it, but..." Witchgartner cut him off. "Why didn't you just tell me this before? And I don't mean Monday. I mean back before, when it was first diagnosed. Were you afraid I wouldn't let you keep the job?" "Yes," he answered. "Well, you're right," she shot back. "But I would have tried to place you somewhere else in the store. As silly as it may seem, this is a relatively high-profile position. I thought you understood that. You're essentially a spokesperson not only for the store but for the whole company. You've put me in a bad spot. We had plenty of need for holiday help back in October. But we don't now. And I can't let you continue being Santa Claus with the condition of yours. And because you weren't upfront with me to begin with, I'm not inclined to help you now. I'd like you to change and go. Since it's medically related, I guess we'll pay you through Sunday. But now I'm going to have to scrounge up a replacement for you. I'm sorry, but that's the way it has to be." Walking in, he was prepared to be fired. But now that he was fired, after leveling with her, it made it sting even more. The flip-flops in his stomach, which had quieted down, were now back and getting bigger than ever. Carl wanted to leave her office with grace and dignity, to show her that she hadn't gotten the best of him, but his stomach was betraying him. Right now he was afraid to get up, afraid to make any movements at all. Thinking that he was just stalling, Witchgartner said, "Carl, there's nothing more that needs to be said. Now please leave." Carl, now that's a few more seconds of this, and she would call security. So he got up gently and turned. But just as he feared, he sprayed her desk as he walked away. As he got to the door, she yelled, "Oh my God," and held her mouth while she ran to open the window. Carl turned as red as his suit from the shame of her response. But with the commotion behind him, he didn't hear Witchgartner's secretary scream in the front office. As Carl opened the door, he was pushed aside abruptly and back against the door as he looked down the barrel of a gun. Its owner was a lean, mustached man of an indistinguishable ethnic origin. About Carl's height of 5'8", but only about 165 pounds, soaking wet. He slammed the door behind him and screamed, "Back to the desk, Santa." Nervously, Witch Gardner asked, "What do you want, Nick?" Nick responded, "I come to get my job back." His sense of defeat overwhelming at this point, Carl just said to himself, "Isn't this a Merry Christmas?" And that's it, and I will continue tomorrow from the Freditor.